everyone, welcome back. And this video is about why cloud computing. This is a continuation of the previous video that I had taken. What is cloud and what is cloud computing? So, if you don't know what is a cloud, what is cloud computing, you can take a look at the video with the link that I have shared in the description box. I suggest you take a look at that before viewing this video because it will be helpful for you to relate to what is a cloud and how is it beneficial. So, without any delay, let's get into this video. So, let us see what happened in the past, okay, of how businesses managed their infrastructure. So let's say you have an organization or there was any enterprise or an organization and they wanted to host their applications, okay, so that customers and people could access that application and it could keep running. So in order to do that, you would have heard of this term called server rooms, okay, server rooms or data centers. So that was very common in the past. You would have heard of it in organizations, or rather even in colleges they would have said that's the server room and stuff like that. So in order to set this up, they had to have a server, and it was in a dedicated space, which either it can be a room or a separate space, which was called either as a server room or a data center. Okay, so now with having this, organizations kept scaling up. They had more applications, they had more customer bases and stuff. So there was a need and demand of scaling up, okay. And in order to scale up, probably they would have again hired, or they would have purchased more servers, had more server rooms and stuff like that. So this kept going on whenever there was a need and a demand, okay. But at one point of time, having all this together, it literally became like a huge data center, okay. By scaling, they had a huge data center. But what happened during this time of scaling and having this big data center? There were some drawbacks, okay. So when you scale up and have this data center, the first one is it took a lot of time to scale, okay. Setting up those servers and that server room, definitely it was very time consuming. Also, it took a lot of efforts to scale, okay. You needed the right people, you needed the right resources who would be in charge for this type of a process and management. So there was some considerable amount of effort required. Also, it could not accommodate demands of market at the right time, okay. So for the business, let's say suddenly there was this application that need to be hosted, and they assumed that it would take up some amount of storage and resources, but the customer base tend to be too large, or there was a lot of demands personally on the enterprise end. So they were not able to ramp up at that particular time period. It took a lot of time. So therefore the time to reach the market or the market demands, it was not very quick enough, okay. And the next point is it required high maintenance cost. So we all know, if at all you came across like servers, on premise servers and server rooms in your organizations, colleges, universities and stuff, it does need a lot of maintenance also, okay. Regular maintenance, and a lot of things are involved. So there's a maintenance cost that is attached to this, as well as sometimes it leads to low or over usage of infrastructure resources. So having this, as I said, in order to accommodate the demands of the market, one is you need to increase the infrastructure, or sometimes anticipate, businesses anticipate to see that there'll be a demand, but it'll be only at a particular peak. For example, if you take an e-commerce or retail website, the sales might be at its peak during festival seasons, during holiday seasons, during sales and stuff like that. So in order to accommodate that period of demand, enterprises and businesses used to purchase these infrastructure resources, but it was only at that particular peak time that these resources get utilized. But what happens during the other times, it's very the usage is very minimal, but still they had to take into account the cost and maintenance, and they had to take a lot of effort and time in order to maintain it for the other periods. So these were some drawbacks of having these on-premise data centers and servers. So, in order to relieve businesses of these pains, is where the cloud had come in. So cloud has this superpower, which I can say, which is elasticity. So elasticity means that it allows and enables businesses to scale up their resources as well as to scale down resources whenever they want. Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. So because of this, since businesses wanted to scale up and down at whatever time they want, businesses started moving to the cloud, okay, which eliminated the on-premise data centers. And since you can scale up and down at any time, it also allowed businesses to have effective resource utilization. So whenever they require resources, they make use of it. Okay, so it's very effective utilization that they do. Also, it's very cost effective. Whenever you use the resources, you pay for it. Whenever you don't use it, you don't. So it's cost effective. Also, on demand resources, since whenever you want to scale up or down, you can do it. It's on demand and it's according to your needs. So that's possible, as well as improved speed to market. So whenever you have these demands, whenever you have these needs, you can always scale up faster and quicker, and you can accommodate the demands of the market, as well as you can go out to the market quicker. So these were some advantages of cloud. So there are some properties or characteristics of the cloud, what they mentioned, and it's part of what I explained in the previous slide. So on demand and self-service is one property or characteristic where you can do it on your own. You can provision, you can provision resources whenever required. So it's self-service as well as on demand. And the next point is, as I said, elasticity, where it has the ability to scale up and down at any point of time. And also pay as you use. So, as I said, cost effectiveness. So, whenever you use a resource, you just pay for what you use. You don't overpay or you don't underpay. As well as the last one is multi tenancy. So, multi tenancy is nothing but when multiple organizations or businesses, they use the resources of a cloud service vendor. Okay, and there are some drawbacks also, or I can say risks when using this cloud, as anywhere and anytime there is always risk to data security. So whenever businesses they host their data, their applications onto the cloud, there's a lot of personalized information sensitive information that tends to go onto the cloud. So data security could be one risk. There could be risks of data security, but though there are other powerful algorithms, methods and processes that are in place, but definitely there is always this light percentage of data security and a risk that should be considered. Also vendor dependency. So now you're depending for your resources from the vendor. So it's not good to always have one single vendor on which you are dependent. So it's good to have multiple vendors, because vendors provisioning resources for multiple applications. So in case one vendor goes down, you always have other vendors to support you and your demands and needs. And the third one, it's prone to attack. So as I said, when there's a lot of data that gets stored onto the cloud, you have a lot of chances of chances as well as the cloud being prone to attacks, okay, malicious attacks for all the data. So these could be some of the risks. Now I'm not saying that cloud is, what to say, having these drawbacks, but even if you have an on-premise, definitely that's going to be the same risks and threats are going to be applicable to the on-premise. So what I'm saying is it could be applicable even for the cloud. So these are some this was some information that I wanted to share with you regarding why the cloud came into existence and what are the pros and cons of this cloud. So I hope you got some understanding and information. So if you like this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do subscribe, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.